It was such a mistake to move in with my mother-in-law. I let out a heavy sigh listening to her complaints. My name is Matilda, 31 years old. My 28-year-old husband Mike and I got married 3 years ago. When we just started living together, we had a few quarrels, but we were living happily. A year after our marriage, Mike's dad passed away. Mike was worried about his grieving mother, Amanda, so we moved in with her. I never imagined she was so nasty and snide. I didn't mind if it was a little complaint, but what she did was more like degrading me. It was a baseless personal attack. Don't just stay in the room and play on your computer, but do some housework, you bum. I heard her condescending tone of voice coming from the hallway. She came to complain right after she finished her breakfast. I made breakfast, didn't I? I wanted to retort, but restrained myself, only for the time being. I was planning to clean the house after you finished eating. Besides, I wasn't playing on the computer. I was actually working. You always make excuses. You think I'm stupid and don't know anything about computers. I explained that to her before, but she brushed it off, saying it's just a part-time job. I wasn't good enough to hold a real job in her head. I wasn't sure if she made irrelevant sarcasm because she couldn't keep up with the modern world, or if she just picked on me out of hatred. I assumed both. Anyway, I was the kind of person who wanted to work for the rest of my life, so we just couldn't get along. I had always put effort into housework, even while working to confront her prejudice. I woke up early to prepare breakfast for 3. I cared about our health, so I cooked a light menu of mostly vegetables for dinner. I didn't slack on cleaning either. All this effort had the opposite effect on Amanda. She stopped doing any of the housework and just criticized everything I did. She led a carefree life of watching TV all day long or going out for bingo and coffee with a friend sometimes. A woman like her was calling me, who was highly regarded in my field, a bum. I wanted to throw it back at her. One day, while spending my days in annoyance, I opened my credit card bill and my eyes popped out of my head. What is all this? $1,500 for the suit, $2,000 for a bag. I didn't remember buying such expensive things. When I checked the details, they were paid with Mike's card. I asked him immediately, "Hey, did you buy the suit and bag?" "Oops, you saw." "Yes, I did. I need it for work." "Even so, he's just a regular salesman." It doesn't have to be this expensive. His suits used to cost about $300 and his bag was more or less the same. Well, the expensive ones are much better quality. They make me feel more confident, and most importantly, they look better. See, don't you think I look better these days? I'm not sure. He didn't look better to me at all. A young guy in his 20s wearing a suit that didn't fit his stature. The suits looked better than him, and contrary to what he thought, he looked undignified, no sense of fashion. Amanda forcefully interrupted our conversation. "You look amazing, Mike, so handsome." "Thanks, Mom." "You are living off of this celery and complain about how he spends. You have thick skin. Who do you think you are?" I was angry at her for intruding on our conversation and said whatever she wanted to say. Who did she think she was? I didn't care about this ignorant woman, but I was angrier with Mike, who didn't help me out. I had tons of things to say to him, but no matter what I said, Amanda was going to rant on his behalf. Instead of trying to carry on, I firmly warned him. Anyway, stop buying expensive things or let me know first. I ended it at that, but my warning didn't work at all. On the contrary, his spending increased. It was over his leisure, such as an expensive meal at a restaurant, a scarf and a wallet from a designer brand, and long-distance car aisles. There seemed to be nothing related to his work. When we first got married, he didn't act like this. The cause of this change was Amanda. You're the head of the household, so stand your ground. Don't help with housework just because Matilda is older doesn't mean you have to do what she says. Make her understand that you are above her. Like an incantation, she chanted to him every day. Indecisive and without a will of his own, he was easily influenced by her. In order to change him back to his former self, I had no choice but to confront her curse on him. I was determined and went to her room. "What do you want? I'm busy. If you want to talk, make it short." She was just lounging around, watching TV and drinking tea. "Please listen to me carefully. We cannot save any money because of Mike's overspending. We must save some in case of emergencies like sudden illness or repairs to the house. That's just you aren't good at making ends meet. At this age, he must be making at least $90,000 a year, right? You're up by one digit. What is he making? $100,000. It's simple. One digit means $10,000 in her mind, but I kept quiet. He must have taken my silence as an affirmation. Her eyes danced with delight. "Anyway, please tell him to stop overspending." Okay, that's all. If so, please leave." She waved her hand as if to get rid of a fly. Oh, I rolled my eyes. A few days later, Amanda excitedly barged into my room. What is it? Stoned. She showed papers to me with a smug look on her face, saying, "Say this and divorce Mike now. You are after his money from the beginning, you gold digger." Mike's sections were already designed. I took the papers from her hand and went to Mike. "Hey, Mike, could you sign this?" "I did. Mom says you're after my money." "I see, and you believe her." "Well, she's my mom." As soon as I heard it, I made up my mind. "Okay, let's get divorced." I packed up the papers, my computer, some valuables, and clothes in my suitcase and left the house. My parents lived too far away, so I couldn't easily go back there. I checked into a motel and tried to calm down for the time being. Getting the divorce was finalizing in my mind. What did she mean by I was after his money? I couldn't stand living with a man who was so dependent on his mom. I was going to sign and submit the papers the next day. Getting a divorce didn't bother me. It was actually a godsend so that I wasn't going to argue, but there was something unforgivable. I went through my credit card statement and came up with the perfect retaliation. After I submitted the divorce papers, I was enjoying my single life. I chose an apartment with good security, so it was a bit expensive, but my income and savings were sufficient enough. I realized how stressed I was living with Mike and Amanda. About a month after the divorce, I received a call from Mike. "Yes, hello?" "Matilda, please listen." "What is it?" "I'm listening." "I already sent you an email asking you to get rid of everything I left behind. Not that I'm in trouble. My card has been declined." "Your card, you blacklisted bastard." "Of course it is. You say it's yours, but you're just a family member. If I, the primary member, canceled it, you cannot use it anymore." "What have you done?" "I'm not your wife anymore. You're on your own." I hung up on him. He kept calling me like there was no tomorrow, but I never picked up. Mike actually was way behind in payments on his credit cards before we got married. I took over and paid them all off for him. Looking back on it, I should have cleaned up my relationship with him then. Well, no point in regretting. He most likely wasn't able to make a new car because of his bad credit history. Anyway, it was none of my business at all. A few days after Mike called, I saw someone hovering around in front of my apartment building. It was Amanda. She happened to see me on the street and followed me. I was impressed with her blunt action. "I need to talk to you," she clamored and clung to me at once, so I reluctantly took her to the cafe nearby. "What do you want now?" "Well, about this." Amanda was holding my bank statement. It was from a few months ago, so I didn't need it. "Is this your salary?" "Yes. This is what I earned working from home. You used to say it was just part-time." "I am a professional." She kept quiet. Her hand holding the statement was trembling. "I can't believe it. Wasn't my son earning 6 figures? No way that idiot could make that much. You're too naive." I said once and for all, her peanut brain really believed it was her son. Mike was making 1/10 of my income. He worked as a salesman with a low base salary and a big commission. The more he sold, the bigger the paycheck, but that carefree guy was happy as long as he got the space. He was totally relying on my salary. Oh no, he must not have even had the tactic of relying on me. Amanda finally grasped the reality. "Sweetie, it's not too late to get back together." "Too late," I firmly replied. How amazing. Even though her suggestion was interrupted, she undeniably spoke with that sweet tone of voice. "You were once in love and got married. It should be a shame to just part like this." "Not at all. It's more shameful to have you guys spend my hard-earned money." "Oh my God, you're terrible. Don't depend on me and go work yourself. Then you won't be a bum either." "Is that your only concern? You're so awful, disregarding, and a woman." I took note of her ranting and gently left the cafe. I felt relieved from the stress of living with her after seeing Amanda's disordered look of dismay. I planned to deliver the final blow to Mike one Friday night. I confronted him in front of a building downtown, a kind of red light district where his strip club was located. Mike showed up after 9 p.m. with a girl dressed in a skimpy dress. "What are you doing here? You're an idiot. You've been using my credit card at this place." I had seen the name of the club on several statements, and it was always on Fridays. Once I had the name, it was easy to find the location. "Honey, who is this?" The young woman looked in her early 20s. The hem of her skirt was up to her crotch, and her top revealed her cleavage. "Hi, I'm his ex-wife. In other words, just a stranger." "Shut up. I came to tell you something. Please pay back the debt I took over before we got married and the money you spent during the marriage. My lawyer will send you a detailed invoice in a few days. Please take care of it. Also, it seems you got a lot of gifts from him, but I paid for all that." "Wait, Matilda." Ignoring him, I walked away, clacking my heels on the street. How about it? I felt so cool. I heard Mike and his girlfriend arguing, and I assumed the girlfriend was the one he had been cheating on me with. I had seen a list of transactions from a cosmetic store, a brand popular with young women, and even the motel. All of these suspicious purchases were made on Fridays, and of course all the payments at the strip club were also made on Fridays. Later, I found out that he spent Friday afternoons with his girlfriend. He bought whatever she asked him to and then went to her work together. By looking at the pattern of their activities from the statements, I came up with the idea of confronting them in person on the spot. I assumed they would have a dramatic end after his girlfriend found out the truth about his wealth, just as I declared to him. I sent him an invoice through my lawyer. As soon as he received it, he and Amanda visited my lawyer. "Please help us. You're a lawyer. You're supposed to help people in need, right?" They cried out. When my lawyer asked him about the situation, they told him that they received a pile of bills from the credit card, electricity, gas, water, and even taxes. Mike's salary wasn't enough to cover all of that, and Amanda's savings weren't making up for it. "I didn't know you were married. I was cheated. I want compensation." Mike's girlfriend demanded a large amount of money. "I'm not in the position to pay back, Matilda. I want you to tell me how to clear this debt." He had consulted with the totally wrong person. My lawyer was supposedly at odds with him. "If you own the house, why don't you sell it and use the proceeds to pay off your debt?" he advised at first. Then he reminded Mike that if he didn't repay me, we were going to a court hearing. Hearing this, Mike and Amanda went home. Weeks went by with this postponement. Later on, my lawyer was asked to wait for the payment while they sold the house. I didn't have a choice. It took some time, but the money was returned. He did a terrible thing to me, and I could have demanded alimony as well. I was nice enough to ask only for the credit card, so he should have been thankful. I also had them on a restraining order, so I never had to see them. I felt amazing. I laughed out loud in the comfort of my apartment. Well, Mike and Amanda ended up renting a tiny shabby house after they sold the house and paid off the debts. I had passed it by before. The ivy covered the whole house, and the paint was peeling off the walls. It looked like it was built 50 years ago. It was the only place Mike's salary and Amanda's pension could afford. I thought he had learned his lesson from this and started working hard, but he went downhill. He was finally fired from his work. He never looked for another job and started drinking all day at home. He fell down the stairs one day and was rushed to the hospital by ambulance. While Amanda was busy taking care of him and trying to come up with the money to pay the bill, she strained her back and became immobile. Perhaps because she stopped moving around, she started showing symptoms of dementia and couldn't be left alone. She was on the waiting list for moving into an inexpensive care facility. I got a call from a relative of Mike who gave me the devastating update one day. She also asked for those two if I had any interest in getting back with Mike. My answer was no, of course. She seemed to expect it, and I never heard from her again. I moved again 2 years after the incident. This time, alone. I live with my new life partner. After my divorce, I changed the way I worked. I moved back to being with my parents and worked in an office nearby. Not only Amanda, but my parents are getting old. I want to be close to them in case they need me. I met my new husband at work. He's a year younger than me and very reliable, totally the opposite of Mike. He loves and cares for me more than anything. I didn't feel secure enough to have a child with the income and personality of Mike, but my current husband and I should be able to raise a child together. With a positive pregnancy test in my hand, I can imagine my husband's happy face, which makes me grin. I will have a happy family and a joyful life. I renewed my determination.